Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. You're welcome to our review show as me and Steve Malone are looking back on the weekend's action. We had the opening rounds of the Senior Championship taking place across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, with 8 intriguing games taking place. Steve, I suppose to start with, we're going to go with Cross and Madden. It was probably the game of the weekend. It was the best game I seen anyway over the weekend. I made a prediction last week, a bold prediction that I felt Madden could do enough to beat Cross. And in the end, they just didn't have enough quality to get over the line, while Cross had, obviously, Rian O'Neill was the difference between the two sides. He kicked 2 goals and 6 points. I think early on, we seen what I was talking about with Madden, but why I gave them such a good chance. Cross McGlen's defence was there for the taking a lot of times, and Madden just couldn't take their goal chances.
Yeah, well, Sean, I think even Stephen Kern said after the match, he says that if Madden had been a bit more clinical, in front of goal, they would have had 3 goals, killer instinct is, he said, so yeah, you thought in the first 5 minutes, but he also then said that if that happened, Cross would have the ability to score 3, if needed be, so it wasn't, as we all said, that it was going to be a tight game, or was a battle. And I don't think anyone thought anything different. But yeah, Madden have to be kicking themselves, because it was a jittery defence for the first 5 or 6 minutes. And that stage, you could have 3 goals, 3 clear-cut goal chances. I think it was a good save now, I have to say, by Tiernan, for one of the shots. But I think Cross will be happy because they got over the line. They are a very young team. Stephen said after the match, that they're young team, they're up and coming, and how far they go, they don't know, but this is just the start of their journey.
Yeah, in the head, as we said in the preview, we were sort of expecting Oisin O'Neill and Tony Kiernan to both start, and they did, but that youth, they still have Ronan Fitzpatrick there and Keown Finnegan, who scored. I think Fitzpatrick got 2 and Finnegan got 1, 2 county minors from last year. So they do have that youth, Steve, but also Madden of youth as well. Dara McMullen was there, Shea Volley come on, a couple of young players from the under-19 championship winning side a couple of weeks ago. But I suppose that first half, Steve, Madden were probably the better team, and yet Cross McGlen went in at half-time 1 point up, and you just felt like Cross just don't panic. They were up against it at a stage, with Madden creating big space in their defence. And plenty of chances for Madden, but Cross just don't panic. They just keep going, and they know that they're going to grind it out eventually.
Yeah, I think, I suppose really, when I was writing for the paper, is saying that the started ahead and the finished the half ahead, but in between just Madden battered, and there was end-to-end stuff, and Madden, as you say, were the better part. But I think really what changed was you had James Morgan just driving at Madden, and they had no answer. They weren't expectant, but he kept driving. He didn't stop. You had him and Rian, and then Paddy Stoddard, just kept going. They're finding the gaps. They were, pressing hard and setting up a lot of shots. And I think once that happened, Madden were in the back foot. And I thought even the first half you had Niall and Rian O'Neill, had a great battle. But they separated in the second half, and I think that gave Rian a bit more free rein too, And
the 2 goals obviously were massive. The first one, the penalty, just came before the water break in the second half, and it was a 1 point game. Madden were on the attack looking an equaliser. They get turned over, and Madden maybe feel hard done by that. Niall Smith should have been a free kick. He was fouled. 1 kick up the field, it makes it to Rian O'Neill. He's fouled, penalty. 4 points up at the water break, and it's essentially game over.
Yeah, but that's the margins, and that's the beauty of the championship, and that's the beauty of knockout championship too, because everything was pinning on it, and he took the penalty so well. He took it away nicely. It's good to know you've got that for club and county when you've got someone who can take a penalty like that.
Yeah, and Rian O'Neill's accuracy was unbelievable. Some of the frees, I think he scored 5 frees out of his 6 points, but maybe 2 or 3 of them were out around 45, 50 yards out. And we were making the case on Armagh TV that any team that's playing against Crossmaglen, you can't foul within 50 metres of your goal, or Rian O'Neill is going to score from the dead ball.
Yeah, but as well as that, I thought it was really impressive was Rian's work rate. You know, we all know with his skill and his ability, but the work that he puts in is unreal. He is up and down that pitch, and he takes some hits. He takes more hits, I think, than any player. You know, and he just gets up and gets on with it, and he keeps getting better. And it's amazing to just think just how good he can actually be.
And just before we move on, I want to touch on Jamie Sheridan, the fly goalkeeper for Malone. We've seen it a couple of times in this club championship, and it's maybe becoming a feature. We've seen it obviously in the Ulster Championship with Morgan and Rory Began taking it to huge extremes. But Jamie Sheridan played their role well, Steve. He created that overlap a couple of times. He should have had a point. He'd be disappointed that he didn't swim one.
Yeah.
And made 2 brilliant saves as well.
Yeah, he's so lovely, dummy, and you've got a point. Like, yeah, that would have been brilliant. I would have got a huge cheer, I think, from all the neutrals. But yeah, but I think you're fine. It's commonplace. You see a lot of it now here in the Down Club Championship. Not like the fly keeping is just it's well documented and well seen. But especially for kickouts and things like that, there you've got an extra man. So it's just one of the things that's evolved into the game, and it'll probably keep on happening until a few of them get caught out on a major game, and only if it costs, you know, a title or something like that'll be nipped in the bud maybe.
Yeah,
but it's great to see.
It is good to see, and the keepers are skillful enough, a lot of them, to come out and play as an extra man. And Shane Mackay come off his line for Drummond on Sunday and was almost caught. Sean Rock tried to lob him. The ball bounced up off the crossbar and come back out. So we'll get in that game later on, Steve, towards the end of the show. Moving on to Ballymacnab and Greenmore, and everybody knows I'm a Ballymacnab man. So at half time, I couldn't wait to get talking at the podcast, on the podcast. With about 5 minutes left, I maybe wasn't going to do a show. It was really it was intense stuff that last 5 or 10 minutes, Steve. Greenmore just come out, all guns blazing. They abandoned their sweeper system. They pushed up. The likes of Kieran Doyle, I thought, had a massive game and a massive impact in that second half in Greenmore's revival. And they're maybe just feeling unlucky that they didn't do enough. They couldn't even get level. Ballymacnab were always just that point or two ahead, and in the end, that's all they needed was 1 point.
Yeah, I think like people seen what we were talking about, you know, last week when you say about how Greenmore and Ballymacnab, regardless of what you think, you know, the talent that they are on the player by player, who's better and who's not, when the two teams meet, there's going to be nothing between them. But it was really a game of two halves. You know, Nab really, you know, he's could have been further in front. You know, in the first half, there's only the one team in it, but in the second half, just Greenmore just rolls over time and time. But I think your defence is stood well. Like, and Greenmore will be kicking themselves that they just couldn't get over the line. They couldn't get the scores that they needed. And even though Jason O'Neill, you know, was winning everything that was, you know, put on top of him, but I just thought that Ballymacnab's defence, they bottled him up time and time again. That, you know, they couldn't inflict the damage that he wanted to.
And then on the other side, Ballymacnab eventually scored in the second half with Kieran Hughes and Ryan Waters getting 2 scores. And as you say, they were fit to hold Greenmore out, because Greenmore obviously in the last couple of minutes needed a goal. They put big Kieran Toner in on the edge of the square. O'Neill was in there, Lewis Hughes. And they sent a couple of high balls in, but just didn't get close enough. They didn't look like getting a goal. I think they had one chance in the second half and Conor McGivern saved it. But other than that, they didn't really seem like they were going to get a goal, Steve. And maybe on reflection should have been taking their points.
Yeah, I thought they went for goal a bit too early. You know, in a game like actually, like throughout the game, it's okay. It's always worth a goal, because, you know, it only takes one of them to score a goal. But yeah, they should have went for the points a bit more early. But maybe because of the wides that they got in the first half, just the confidence wasn't there to shoot from long range.
Yeah, and Ballymacnab now move on. They play Pearse Oaks in the quarter final. The Oaks beat St Peters at the weekend, and we'll get on to that game in a wee while. Harps and Maghery was the big game of the weekend, probably, Steve, the big game on Saturday night. And it just didn't live up till its pre-game hype. It was a bit of a dull game, a bit like the Ballymacnabb game. It was very interesting that last 5 or 10 minutes where either team could have swung it and the Harps needed a goal, and similar to the Friday night game, they just couldn't get that goal that was maybe going to win them the game. But yeah, it didn't live up till what we thought it was going to be.
No, and I think like a lot of people are saying how disappointing the Harps were, and that that they didn't give the performance that many people thought until it was too late. But yet, despite not playing well, they nearly done the job. Maghery just got over the line and no more. But you have to say, like, some of the injuries that like Maghery had the walking wounded, and I think it was Brian McElmurray that went in at full back. Is unreal, absolutely outstanding. How he's man of the match.
Yeah, Brian McElmurray, like, he was a full forward for a couple of years. That's what I would know him as, a full forward and maybe a midfielder if they needed cover in midfield. But he was unbelievable at full back. He cleared anything and everything that come in around the Maghery square. And with him there, the high ball tactic that the Harps were using just wasn't working. McElmurray was clearing everything up, and as you say, he was probably man of the match because of that.
Yeah. They're just they ran out of ideas, and like even sometimes some of the balls going in, there were nothing balls. It wasn't even 50-50. It was like just dropping on top of, and like you had 2 or 3. Suppose the Harps forwards, and you'd have about 6 Maghery men around them straight away. It's only when it started like kicking, the sort of diagonal ball in that they got a bit of joy from it. But I still think credit to the Harps, because really they could have just quit, because nothing was going their way in the first half, absolutely nothing. And then they just got 3 points, I think, in a row just before the second half, and 3 points in as many minutes, and that left very little even between the teams even at that stage.
Yeah, I think it was 7-3 at the break, but at one stage it was actually 6-1 in that first half. And the Harps just didn't look like they were getting any scores, and as you say, just sort of a flick of a switch, they got a couple of points and suddenly they were back in the game. But after it, we spoke to Brendan Haveron of Maghery, who was an all-star defender last season and had another good game on Saturday evening against the Harps. So we'll hear what he had to say now. So, Brendan, Maghery made it through by 2 points. There's a shaky end there. Harps obviously looking the goal. The defence stood up well.
Yeah, it was a tough game. I knew we were going to be up against the Harps. We were going well this year. We had to bring it tonight, so we couldn't really afford to be going into it like we did last year. And maybe a bit slack. We had to get going from the start, but maybe struggled with a bit of consistency going through games at times. So hopefully next round we're going to have to improve and get some more minutes of consistency together in the game and get through it.
Obviously the last time you played the Harps here was the county final 2017.
Yeah.
Was that in the back of your heads at all this week?
Well, maybe we think about that's the one that always got away, and we're at that stage. I think we were maybe 5 points up going in the second half, so we're 7 out of the night. Didn't really want to get that happen, maybe push it on, and maybe glimpse you, maybe thought that was going again, but we knew we were going to stand strong and repel anything coming out of the high ball. So we're confident enough going into that game, and I knew it wasn't going to happen like the way it did last time.
You spoke about the half-time lead. I'm not going to say comfortable. 4 points is probably not comfortable, but these were well ahead. I was seeing it with Ballymacnabb on Friday night. We're 6 points up.
Yeah.
On the second half, there's a big difference in momentum. Momentum swings the other way. What do you put that down to? Is it maybe concentration, or is it maybe them throwing the kitchen sink at you?
I think they maybe knew themselves if they didn't get a good start in the second half, maybe they were going to pull away with a lead. But I think they maybe upped their intensity a bit. We kicked more balls away. Weren't really good with the hands. Maybe too many turnovers there in the second half, but plan to improve on for next year.
And coming in as county champions, Brendan, obviously there's probably a target on your back now. Teams see you are up there probably with Crossmaglen as the 2 top teams in the county. Is there pressure comes with that, or maybe you enjoy that?
No, I think maybe enjoy that, because every single team's going to know that they have to bring 100% to beat us. So I think we know we have to match that on more, the intensity, and we'll get through.
I suppose 2 weeks' time now, as we're speaking here, we don't know who you're going to play. It's between Grange and Clonerne. Clonerne probably mad looking about at you after last year. They probably felt they could have beat you. It's a tough challenge no matter who you play. Is it a bit of an advantage for you that you get seeing them tomorrow knowing that you are coming up against them?
Maybe pull some stuff from looking at their games, but every day we go out it's always about ourselves, and if we perform, no team in the county is going to get the better of us.
Great, Brendan, thanks for coming on.
Thanks very much.
Alright Steve, we'll move on to Sunday's games. Clonerne and the Grange took on each other in Abbey Park. The scoreline probably doesn't do the Grange justice. It was 3-17 to 14 points. This was a tight and feisty game, particularly in the second half, where Grange showed all their heart and courage to come back into the game and just couldn't get the goals. And I think that's a theme of the weekend, that the trailing team just can't seem to find the net. But massive credit to Clonerne and their number 2, Conan O'Carroll, who cleared the ball off the line on 2 occasions, once in the first half and once in the second half, to deny Grange goals. And although Grange probably had the beating of the Clonerne defence for a lot of the game, with the 2 McKennas and Justin Kieran all playing well, they just couldn't get a goal that would bring them back into it. And they were 3 points down at one stage. Clonerne got a turnover, went up the field, and Turbo stuck the ball in the net, and that was 6 points. So I suppose the likes of Turbo maybe didn't have his best game. He scored 1-5 and set up another goal. So when you have a forward like that, Steve, that's maybe not in top form, but can still be that big of an influence on the game, you would take it.
Yeah, but like that, you say that he's not in top form. I don't know what you expect from a forward when he's scoring that. You know, when you say he's not on his game, you know, he's doing what he's there to do, but he doesn't, just because sometimes a player of that quality is not taking it around 3 men and scoring 3 goals, that he's not having a great day. But like, it wasn't surprised that Clonerne, you know, got the win. But the fact that Grange got at them quite a bit, well, it'll encourage, I suppose, their opponents next week, or
I think
time.
Clonerne take on Maghery. That's a repeat of last year's quarter final, and Clonerne probably carrying a bit of hurt into this year that they didn't win that game. They were in pole position to beat Maghery last year, and that gives them massive motivation now, of course, heading into the game in 2 weeks' time. The Grange, we spoke about it in the preview, and you couldn't help but feel if Ethan Rafferty had been there, it would have been a different game. Now, I'm not saying the Grange would have won if Ethan Rafferty had been there, but when the game's in the melting pot, they just needed somebody in around the middle of the field to maybe catch a big ball or come up and kick a big point. And Ethan Rafferty was the man, but obviously he wasn't there to do it.
Oh yeah, but what a player! Like, as you say, he would have made a huge difference. These are all ifs and buts, but even when Ethan's fit, when he gives to the county, when he's fit, so when he can do that, what he gives to the club, and especially against the likes of Arrow or against Clonerne, like, it would have been a different dynamic to the game. You know, it would have added something different and probably posed a few more problems for the likes of Clonerne.
Yeah, but Clonerne, the 2 goals in the second half, the third one was the game was over by that stage. It was really Turbo's second goal that put them 6 points up, and that was really game over. That was 14 to 14 points at that stage. Clonerne went on to score another 1-3, while Grange didn't score in the last quarter. Drummondhea and Silverbridge was also on Sunday, Steve. This was in a very wet Crossmaglen on Sunday, and really the conditions ruined the 2 games on Sunday. Neither game will be remembered for free-flowing football or much attractive football, but both were in the melting pot at the end of the 60 minutes, and certainly the Silverbridge and Drummondhea game obviously going till extra time. I suppose Silverbridge just about shaded, marginally deserved it. They were probably just the better team on the day. And of course they got the 2 goals that won them the game. While Aaron Boyle, he scored a penalty for Drummondhea. Steve, Drummondhea being the league champions, delighted with it, of course, the first time winning the league since 2004. But this was a game that the league champions should have been coming in to win, you would feel, coming up against the 1B side. And we spoke about it last week, how tight this was going to be and how difficult of a game this was going to be for Drummondhea. But they'll be disappointed with how their championship has ended.
Oh, of course they're disappointed. It's just after losing, but I don't think it's a massive surprise or anything like that, because just say league form and championship, they're two completely different animals, really. I think just that Silverbridge, I suppose a bit like Wallaban, that they're a young team, they're a building team. They're probably a team that are more interested in where they're going to be in another 3 to 5 years than where they are now. But if they can keep winning games and winning championship games, then it shows they're going in the right direction.
And Aaron Boyle's penalty that I spoke about, there was maybe 2 minutes of extra time left, and that point put them Drummond a point up, and it looked like that was going to secure it. But fair play to Silverbridge, they dug in. They got a point. Oisin Murphy fisted a point to tie the game, and the last kick fell to Tiernan Murphy, who had scored the goal at the start of extra time for Silverbridge, and he held his nerve to point the free and put them through to the quarterfinals. So it's obviously massive for Silverbridge. We're going to speak about the Cullyhanna game now in a second, but they meet Cullyhanna, and while we don't want to start previewing that game, it's a massive opportunity for either team to reach a championship semi-final.
Yeah, absolutely. And both teams will be going in that, fully convinced that they can win, and so it should be. It'll be, I don't think there'll be much between them, but I think it's good for Silverbridge because even last year they done all right in the senior championship. And you have to remember, they're not in the senior championship many years, really. It took them a long time to get out of intermediate, but I just think that they're establishing themselves well, and I think that they'll get better and better over the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and I think they have a few good young players coming through. Barrow Murray was saying on Armagh TV yesterday that they won the minor championship in 2019, and we're starting to see the likes of them young boys coming through now and getting themselves established at senior level. Moving on, Steve, we'll go back to Saturday's action, and it was Clevie against Annaghmore. I suppose this game went to form. No big surprise with how this game went. At the first water break, Clevie were winning 1-6 to 2 points, and it looked like they were going to run away with it easily. Oisin King was turning it up inside. Kieran O'Hanlon was superb from centre half forward. To prefer to Annaghmore, they did come back into the game. I think they drew level at half time. It was after half time, the score was 5 points each in the second half. They never gave up. Moss McCormick kept driving the side forward, the same with Michael McNeice. But Clevie just had too much quality, Steve, and that's really what it come down to. And hard luck to Annaghmore, that's them now out of the senior championship. They're back down to intermediate now next year because they were relegated. But I suppose Clevie, as I said, was no big surprise that they won this, Steve. Clevie are one of the up-and-coming teams in the county, and they've such a young team and such a young team that have all played county football at some stage, whether it be minor, under 20s or senior. They're definitely a team to watch, and they've set up a semi-final with Crossmaglen now. A quarter-final, sorry.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting game. I suppose the teams met last year as well in the championship, and I think Clevie felt that they didn't finish the game as the way they thought that they could. I think that they feel that they've left the results, behind them somewhat. But I think on Saturday again, Annaghmore, they just did what they had to do. They had the game won effectively in the first half, and it was just about not doing anything silly and not getting any red cards or anything out there and getting through to the next round. And I don't think, as you said, Clevie, they've a lot of good young players, a lot of players that would have come through with. So that's St Paul's team that done well in the Macquarie Cup and that. So I think Clevie will push across all the way, and it'll be an interesting game.
And we've spoke about, and everybody sort of feels that this year the championship is wide open. There's maybe 5 or 6 teams that can really push on in this championship, and Clevie are certainly one of them, Steve. We've said that they've such a young team, like the likes of Oisin King. I think he scored 1-3 the other day. Lee Rice coming through. Adam Garvey played wing half back the other day. Young O'Hare in the middle of the field. They have a lot of young players there that are just maybe biding into senior football. And Shane McGill, of course, the goalkeeper. The experience on the county will do him no harm either. Yeah,
and say about the youth in that team, it means there's no fear in them whatsoever. That it's not that they don't have respect for their opposition; they just have no fear and have complete faith in their own ability and management team. So I think Clevie will, or as you said, they're an up and coming team, whether it's going to be this year or next year. But I think they're building for a team that's going to be about for a while.
And moving on then with Cullyhanna against Mullabone. This was another one we found tough to call on the other day, Steve, in our preview. We knew this was going to be tight. Essentially, it come down to a shootout really between Aidan Nugent and Eddie English. Two of them were red hot form the other day. Aidan Nugent obviously was on the winning team, and we'll have to talk about him, Steve. That was his first championship game since 2019. He come back from obviously his ACL injury last year that has maybe taken a bit longer to get back from than he would have liked. He got no involvement with Armagh this year. He scored 8 out of Cullyhanna's 9 points, and I know 6 of them were frees, but they weren't all easy frees that were top overs. They all have to be scored as well. So massive credit to Aidan Nugent, and it's great to see him back.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see him back, because like he was in flying form, when he got injured, so to see him back and see him, playing well, it's great for Cullyhanna and it's great for Armagh, so like as you say, he got the winner, and no one would have begrudged him, had that shot knock over and had sent the game to take extra time, but he done the job.
And probably knowing Aidan, he's raging at a bit of his play that he missed a penalty at the end. And while, as you say, he did eventually kick the winner, this would have really put the nail in Mullabone's coffin. I think there was about 2 to 3 minutes left at that stage. Cullyhanna obviously fouled inside the 6-yard box. Aidan Nugent steps up and everybody's expecting the net to ripple and the game to be over. But he just mishit it maybe and put it wide. And as you say, it was full of, he had to have great confidence in himself and great character to come back and kick the winner then after that.
Yeah, because like a lesser player, he just might be interested, or his head might be in the right place after. You'd be thinking of, shit, I missed a penalty and that, I could have won the game from a club. But I think a player like himself, he's a confident footballer. And when he's on form, he's on form. And like as you said, to remain composed and hold his nerve. And I suppose if you're looking someone to kick a winner, it's Aidan Nugent, isn't it?
And moving on to the final game then, this was also on Friday night, and it's the Oaks against St. Peter's. And Steve, as we both said, we were both at the Ballymacnabb game, so you were just checking updates every now and then on the Oaks game. Half time looked like the game was over 4-5 to 4 points. Didn't give St. Peter's much of a chance. Second half water break, it was 4-10 to 7 points. Still the game was over. Still didn't give St. Peter's much of a chance. And they come out all guns blazing in that last quarter and hit 3-3 to give the Oaks maybe there was no cause of an upset coming, but it was certainly a bit of a fright.
Yeah, you wonder whether we're at the wrong game. Yeah. But that's what you want. When teams are getting beat and they're getting beat well, just go for broke, because you may as well concede more goals. If you think you're going to be down and out already, so you may as well just go all out at it. But St. Peter's, I suppose, they just went down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, and they're the same as Ardmore. They've been relegated. They had to win the senior championship if they were going to remain in the top tier for another year. But they'll be back in the intermediate next year, and no doubt they'll have their eyes set on winning that championship. And that's all from us. Thanks very much, Steve. I just want to say that we have our team of the week coming up this week, of course, again, and it'll be released on Wednesday. And thank you to PlayerFit, who are sponsoring a jersey for the player of the week every week, and we'll get caught up with the 2 previous winners, Grania Boylan and Caitlin McQuaid, and we'll make sure that they get their player of the week jersey. Make sure to vote for whoever you feel the player of the week was this week. I think there's 12 or 13 teams involved in the team of the week, so make sure to vote for who you feel was the player of the week, and they'll receive the Sideline Eye player of the week jersey. Steve, thanks once again. I'll get talking to you soon.
All right, Sean. Take care now.